Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. There we go. Now listen, Deontay Wilder fights on. I'll leave that on, whatever. He fights on, man. He's not retiring. And even if he gets a win against this guy Harper in April, he's going to return to the ring. But my concern with Deontay Wilder is his mental health condition, right? We can sit here and say he shouldn't fight, he should fight. People want to, poke fun at what he's going through with his ex significant other. But my thing with Deontay Wilder is, what's up with his mental health condition? Because normally, when you're on the job, if there's some kind of objective evidence that you may not be able to do your job, then that could risk your position. And you could get fired, right? When it comes to Deontay Wilder, the thing is, how does that work in boxing? Objective evidence. He's come out and said that he felt he was too aggressive before. He said he's so glad that he found the ayahuasca. He just wants to spread love. He can't wait to get back to wherever he had traveled to. But anyway, he can't wait to get back there. How he's at peace. And a whole bunch of kumbaya talk, right? And my thing is, when I hear that, it takes me back to being out there working, on the flight line as a project manager. And when you have maintainers or they're pilots and they have an aircraft they have to work on, or the pilots have to fly. And if you have someone, right, that may pose a safety risk because mentally we recognize something's not right with them. It could be something where someone has lost a significant other, lost a parent, lost a sibling, lost a child. You don't want that person to come back in onto the flight line working on aircraft or flying an aircraft. So again, when I look at Deontay Wilder, someone who's come out and said that obviously he needed a change because of how his attitude, right? His mentality. That tells me that he probably shouldn't be in the ring, man. And although I like to poke Malik Scott in the eye, it could be that Deontay Wilder has gone through different changes that Malik Scott has no control over. Now, for him to get in the ring with this guy, let me tell you something, man. I'm worried about his condition and whether his condition would warrant his eligibility to really be in the ring. So I know they have doctors. I know they go through these physicals and stuff. I believe there's a piece where, like a mental health piece, right? And where they may see if whatever's going on with a fighter mentally, if that can affect their condition and can affect their performance. If not, I think there should be something because he's going through a lot. Teofimo went through it. Ryan went through it. Danny Garcia's went through it. And you can see that, man, it's unfortunate when you see these guys finally break down and shit. It's so for me, I don't even have any jokes, but I think right now, at least leading up to this fight, this comeback fight, there needs be some kind of reasonable accommodation to make sure Wilder is in the best mental health possible before getting in that ring. Because let me tell you something, the last thing that we need is for him to not have some type of change to try to get him back on the job and to do things that he normally did and to get in that ring and lose. I just think that is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Now, some of you guys are probably saying, look, man, Wilder can keep his condition private. He doesn't need to come out there and say shit. As long as he gets in the ring and fights and wins, that's all that matters. But then you're not digging deep enough, man. Okay? We got to peel the layers back. And I'm just telling you, I've seen what this shit can do to people. I've seen it. Real life, man. What this shit can do to people when the mental health is, it's not even about it being fractured when it's broken. With a fracture, some people can kind of fly underneath the radar. When that shit is broken, at some point in time, it's going to show up. And when it shows up, things go left. Things go left. And I'm also concerned with him not having the right support system anymore. Sounds like family issues, brother, whoever else. We already know the issues with as far as his, personal life with women. What does this man have? I saw the TMZ interview, man. I was watching that and I was like, that shit is sad. To look at Deontay Wilder, man, everybody at one point felt like he was, it was a Wakanda forever, you know what I'm saying? And now he's gone and it doesn't have that boom in his voice. No bass, all trouble now. And to me, that sounds like a man who's mentally defeated, spiritually deflated. And a guy like that, to me, should not be in the ring. But that could be why they picked the person they picked for the comeback fight. Because they figure, you know what, with Deontay Wilder, we think he'll be okay with this guy. It's not the kind of threat to where we can apply those rules for someone who, like a Zhili Zhang, and just saying this is extremely high risk. I think this is one of those like soft touches. Like if you get somebody who's gone through something traumatic and you want to reintegrate them into the workforce, you don't put them back into the position they once held. You put them into something where maybe just taking phone calls, being a clerk, then you move them over to something a little more demanding. And then if they can handle that, then you kind of, it's a progressive increase of responsibility. And you have to know what you're doing and understand the individual. Because if you get that wrong, mission failure, okay? I'm just concerned about whatever he's gone through and going through, if that's been making training and everything else more difficult. You listen to Malik Scott when he talks about Wilder. Sometimes you can sense the frustration from Malik Scott about dealing with Deontay Wilder. And let me tell you something. That can make shit uncomfortable. That can make a task in training that should take 45 minutes to an hour very time consuming. It could push it out 2-3 hours because you're fighting with somebody to get them to do something you want them to do. We call that shit insubordination, you know what I'm saying? And that can just really affect the overall chemistry amongst your team. And overall team dynamics are jeopardized and compromised because of this one bad actor. And I really do hope that Deontay Wilder gets whatever accommodations that he needs so he can come back and be the best he can. Will he ever get back to the top of the sport? I don't know. But I'm going to be watching for specific things leading up to the fight. It doesn't seem like he wants to do interviews at the moment. I think he made that mistake leading up to the second and third Tyson Fury fights. And it looks like now he's just going to sit back, don't want any cameras, wants to stay focused, and get in the ring and deliver what so many people are craving for from him, which is the big knockout. But nonetheless, he's not going to want anyone to really know what's really going on with him. Because if you leave it to us, we'll specifically diagnose Deontay Wilder and shit. Everybody's a goddamn expert out here. But I think he just wants to get in the ring, do what he has to do, go home, and then look on to the next big opportunity. How big, I don't know, but if it was me, I don't think it should involve anything significant. Because if he gets into a significant fight, it could result in a significant expense. And that expense could cost him his life, like it almost did against Zhili Zhang. Anyway, Deontay Wilder fights on. Hey, I'm rooting for him. Normally, I'm joking about Freaky Maliki and shit. I don't have no jokes. I'm rooting for Wilder, but I'm just sitting back thinking if he was somebody coming to our organization and I had him as a subordinate, there's no way in the world I would take him and put him back in the position he once held. It's like, nah, we ain't doing that. Let's reintegrate him, slowly reintegrate him, give him some responsibility, see how they handle that, and then we can look at this, progression of responsibility and make sure that we're getting it right. And that's what I think they're trying to do with water. I still think, the more I think about it, that guy, he's coming back to fight. Even though I think that's like bottom of the barrel, like that's an extreme case of a soft touch. That's probably the best thing for him. You know what I'm saying? Probably the best thing for him. It's like me. One time I almost drowned. This is a true story. I'm about to go to the Cheesecake Factory with my wife, but let me tell you this. I almost drowned one time. Out there drinking coconut water and scotch on the beach with my cousin. We swam out. We swam out so far till we turned around, people on land looked that big. I was like, oh shit, we out too far. So we started swimming back in. Anyway, he was next to me, we're swimming in and talking shit. All of a sudden, I don't remember what happened to him. I got caught in a riptide. And I got caught up in that motherfucker and I could not get out of it. And I didn't see him, he just kept swimming, I'm assuming. All of a sudden, I told this story before. The waves and shit were going over my head because the water was a little rough. And I was swimming 10 feet, that shit pulled me back 15 feet. I was in bad shape. After about 25 minutes, I got fatigued. I was tired. So I went down to see if I could touch the bottom. I didn't. So what little energy I had, I used that to resurface. Anyway, when I resurfaced, man, like an out-of-body experience. I swear to God, this is true shit. I saw myself hovering above me, looking down at me. And that shit was like, yo, it said my name. Let's just say Hood Champion, right? Because I ain't going to tell you out my real name. It was like, yo, Hood Champion, you somebody, don't quit. And I looked at it, and I kept swimming. And it turned to from a swim. What's that guy who won the Olympics, man? Smoking weed and shit. Anyway, I can't remember his name. But anyway, I went from swimming like that to dog paddling. Till I got to the point to where I was just swallowing water, man. The waves were going over my head and shit. I was like, fuck. And I was like, God, please no. I swear to God, I said, God, please no. And I went down, and so the water was about this much over my head. My feet touched the bottom. So I pushed up. It was, so that gave me a little bit of energy and shit. And I was like, boom, I'm all right. Then I started swimming again, and then my cousin, he had come in the water and grabbed me. And he was like, you all right? I was like, fuck no. And he just kind of threw me on the sand like a bag of garbage. And I just laid there. He was like, what the fuck? I was like, yo. He was like, I was wondering what happened to you. I was like, I got caught in a fucking riptide, a current or some shit. He was like, yo. I laid there for about 45 minutes, just breathing, looking at the sky. And we walked back up to the pavilion. And he was like, you good? I'm like, nah. So then we headed back to my house. And on the ride, he was like, yo, and I'll tell him what happened. And he was laughing. He thought that shit was funny. I was like, no, motherfucker, I wasn't drunk. Probably shouldn't have been in the water drinking that shit. But I was like, yo, that shit was scary. So what I'm saying is, till this day, when I go back out into the ocean, that shit don't come up past my waist. You know what I'm saying? And I think with Deontay Wilder, I think he's going through something similar, but he doesn't need to go back into a situation where he's fighting against a riptide like he did against Jane, against that current like he did against Parker. He needs to be in that water to where it comes up to his waist and see how he feels. And then maybe the next fight he goes out to where it comes up to his chest. And then maybe the next fight he's cool to jump off into the deep end and swim around and tread water. With me, when I go into the pool, I'll dive into the 12, 15 feet. I do all kind of flips and shit. Remember my sons, they were sitting there playing and laughing. But when I go in the ocean, if that shit, it may come up to my chest. I don't go out to where that shit come up above my head no more. I don't do that. The only time I did it when I was in Okinawa and I was swimming in the ocean out there because we live right on the ocean. And I'd be out there snorkeling and spearfishing, and sometimes you're swimming, the water's crystal clear. You see down 30 fucking feet. And you see all kind of sea snakes and parrotfish and triggerfish and all kind of shit. And you also see goddamn sharks, and you'll see octopus, and you'll see there's these needle nose fish. You see everything in that ocean. That shit is the ocean. But I would always make sure I was near some coral, because if something darted at my ass, I could, just pull myself up, and then, out there you're standing up, the coral's here, and you're standing up on it, so your feet may be covered, but you're out of it, because they have so many. The coral is all over the ocean, so they have these little pockets you can dive down in. But I've never got comfortable with throwing myself back in the water where I could possibly drown. And we got to see if water will ever get comfortable, because in boxing, but they say sink or swim, right? And we'll see if he's ever comfortable with risking being drowned again. I don't know. Time will tell. But at age going on 40, I don't think so. But the bottom line is he fights on. I'm rooting for him. But we'll see if he can ever get back to doing a regular job or if he's going to continue doing shit with accommodations. Because this is what he has. He has an accommodation. And I'd like to see him get back to his regular job, which is knocking people out and being the bomb squad guy. But maybe that ship sailed. Shout out to the veterans on 7 continents in the breeze.